For 2 days this summer, I'll be going to Cedar Point for the first ever time. This is part 2 of 4 of ranking all the coasters I'll be able to get on this summer as part of a roller coaster camp that I'm partaking in. And this is Cedar Point Edition, Episode 2. At the number 18 spot, I have Woodstock Express. It's just a At number 18, I have Woodstock Express. It's just a kid's coaster. There's nothing much to it more than just an E&F Miler kiddie coaster, and honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think I can even ride it. I'm pretty sure they have a height restriction against it. And even if I can, it's still just the same layout as most other E&F Milers, so I won't necessarily be making this ride a priority. I won't be pining for it the second I get into the park. And somewhat similarly, at number 17, I have Wilderness Run. Yes, this was Intamin's first coaster, but it's still a kiddie and maybe a junior coaster that I might not also be able to ride. And as significant as it was for the manufacturer, I'm counting rides on how good the ride is, not just its history. The ride honestly just kind of exists, and this is another one where I'm not going to be too disappointed if I miss it. At the number 16 spot, I have Corkscrew. This is going to be a really interesting ride. I've ridden an aero looper beforehand, 2 actually, but this will be my first aero looper with 3 inversions. From what I've heard, it's rough and just awful, so I suppose I'll have to see for myself. Aero, in my opinion, makes some pretty good inversions, especially loops, and a couple others, such as the ones on Gold Coaster. So I guess I'll just have to see how the ride fares, and if the hate against it is justified, which I highly doubt it is. At the number 15 spot, I have Wild Mouse. I've never really experienced a ride like this before. It looks interesting, and Steel Taipan was a fun spinning experience, so I hope it'll be just as fun. The layout is also kind of fun, and it seems like it might be a good warm-up ride, and while the experience probably won't be the most exciting, I think it'll still be enjoyable, and probably a ride I'll get on more than once. The only Wild Mouse I have done, Coast Rider, was definitely not enjoyable though, so I hope that this one doesn't have shin guards, or it's a little more comfortable compared to Coast Rider. That ride is just awful. At the number 14 spot, I have Blue Streak. This looks like a decent wooden coaster with the potential for some airtime moments. It's 78 feet tall, and the rest of the stats look pretty good. Not the most exciting, but not the worst. So I'm hoping it'll be a better of the 2 Woodies I've experienced. I've heard mediocre things about it, but it can't be that bad. And even if it doesn't have too much airtime, it still looks enjoyable regardless. It's a good length, it's a pretty good height, it's like another warm-up ride. And at a controversial number 13, I have Millennium Force. I know, this is a very controversial pick, but in all honesty, it just doesn't look to be the best ride at Cedar Point. As much as I admired good laterals on a coaster, it just looks a bit too repetitive for me, just overbank after overbank after overbank. The drop in some of the speed hills and the initial overbank do look fun, but I just wish there was a bit more variety to it. I still think I'm going to enjoy it, but I don't think I'll be placing it as high as most enthusiasts do. Once again, this could easily change, I'll just have to see. But the first drop looks good, a couple of the overbank looks good, seems to have a pretty decent finale, and it'll be my first Giga coaster. I just don't think it's going to be a top 10 in the park for me personally. At the number 12 spot, I have Gemini. I also think this is going to be a fun, enjoyable ride. It looks to have a good sense of speed, and once again, another good warm-up ride. Not very intense, but still, it looks like a pretty solid coaster, even though it doesn't duel that much. I've heard from a lot of people that it's rough, but I don't honestly care as much about roughness as most other enthusiasts, so yeah, once again, I'll have to see how it fares. Although I have heard that this ride has significant downtime, so honestly, if I'm even able to get on it, I think I'll be satisfied. At the number 11 spot, I have Valraven. This is exciting to me for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's my first ever dive coaster, and it'll be one of my first B&Ms. I've never experienced an attraction similar to this before, and even though the layout is boring to most enthusiasts, I still think it looks like a lot of fun. Hoping to get an outside seat, but the ride still overall looks smooth and comfortable, and the inversions looks great, along with the first drop. It looks magnificent. Okay, now we're on to the top 10. At the number 10 spot, I have Cedar Creek Mine Ride. On paper, this doesn't look like the most interesting ride, but I place it as high because I think the scenery and the length of it are amazing. It goes around a lake, dives in and out of tunnels, and it'll be my second ever mine train coaster. Plus, it's on the older side, and so I don't know how much longer it'll be around for, so I'll have to wait and see how I like it. I mean, this is also, in all honesty, 11 and 10 could be on top of one another. They're both seeming like amazing rides. It was very hard for me to put one over the other. Alright, at the number 9 spot, I have Magnum XL 200. This will be my first aero hypercoaster, not my first hypercoaster. And it's also just a gold relic from the Coaster Wars. The main reason why I'm excited for it, though, aside from its history, is the airtime. The Triangle Hills just look fun, despite them potentially hurting some enthusiasts' thighs. And it seems like, alright, I'll just be enjoying the entire time. It'll probably be a mid to middle bottom tier hyper for me, but nevertheless, I think I'm just going to be smiling and laughing the entire time. The number 8 spot, I have Iron Dragon. Iron Dragon will be my first ever suspended swinging coaster, and it just looks phenomenal. While the layout may not be as interesting as a ride like Raptor or Banshee, it'll be strange yet fun swinging from side to side while going along the course. It also looks pretty decently long, and the turns around the pond just look magnificent. I just wish or hope that maybe someday, hopefully, when I'm on the trip, they start running the fog again. It'd make it so much better. I'm not sure where it'll place in the ride rankings at the very end, but I'm pretty sure it'll be near the top middle once I get back from Cedar Point. I don't think it's going to be towards the bottom of my list. It just looks like a very enjoyable coaster, but once again, it's got to wait and see. Next up, at the number 7 spot, I have Gatekeeper. This is honestly one of the rides that got me into roller coasters in the first place after watching a POV. This ride definitely doesn't look intense, but it still looks awesome throughout. It'll be my first ever wing coaster, and everything about this ride just looks gorgeous, from the tracks, to the train, to the paints, to the keyholes, everything about it. The first half will absolutely be superb, and the second half doesn't look to be the worst either, especially if I'm on the left side where it gets close to the ground. The wing overdrop will be a first to me, so will the keyholes, and it'll be amazing to see it in person, just with that inversion right over the entrance sign. It's gonna take my breath away. At the number 6 spot, I have Rougarou. This will definitely tick off a lot of enthusiasts, but I just love watching the ride go. It has a unique layout, it'll be my first ever B&M floorless, and it has an incline loop too, something I've never experienced before. I'm unsure if the foot chopper experience will persist due to it being a floorless coaster, but if it is or isn't, I'm still excited for this ride. It's decently tall, fast, and has the perfect amount of versions in my opinion for a ride of its kind. Now it's on to the top 5. At the number 5 spot, we have what'll be my first ever B&M invert Raptor. The ride just looks spectacular, looks whippy and graceful, with some great inversions, especially the Cobra Roll. It's long, it's tall, and it looks pretty fast as well. I just hope it'll have a good sense of speed throughout, which probably will unless the POVs have been deceiving me. The only inverted coaster I've been on so far is an SLC, so it'll definitely be nice to experience something more pleasant than that hunk of crap. So, yeah. At the number 4 spot, we have Top Thrill 2. This will be my first ever strata coaster, my second ever swing launch coaster, and the first coaster I've been on that goes over 100 miles an hour. The backward launch looks nuts, and I've never experienced a spike that tall and that steep before, so it'll be very, very unique. I've also heard they can get some good airtime in the back going over the top hat, so we'll have to see for that firsthand. Hopefully I'll be able to get a couple back row rides. The only reason why it's not in my top 3 is because the others have a few more tricks up their sleeve that just makes them more exciting in my opinion. But still, it'll be amazing to go on North America's tallest and fastest roller coaster. Starting our top 3, in the number 3 spot, we have Maverick, my first ever Intamin Blitz. The ride looks very complete throughout, especially with some great laterals and the airtime looking incredible, especially with the first drop initial turns and the first airtime hill. I've heard it's just insanely unique and incredible. Second launch looks pretty amazing too, only held back a bit because of the trims afterwards, but still, regardless of that, both halves look incredible. I've heard that the airtime is insane. However, the ride does have its flaws, such as the trim and slowing down on the second launch. It'd be great if it would be a rolling launch. which is why the top two above it are flawless to me. At the number 2 spot, we have Steel Vengeance. Steel Vengeance looks to be airtime heaven, and it has a phenomenal layout with some great looking inversions, especially towards the end of the ride when you're diving in and out of the supports. The drop, the speed hill, and the overbank will hopefully have some great airtime, and both halves of it just look flawless. It's also especially nice that the trims don't really seem to slow you down. This will also be my first ever RMC, so I'm curious to see how it'll be, considering it's considered as one of the world's greatest coasters. Considering it also has over 20 seconds of airtime, I'm also just as curious about how the ending of the second half will be with the short bunny hop finale. I hope they'll compare to DC Rivals finale, but I'll just have to wait and see. Although it does have some pretty high expectations to live up to, and as perfect as it looks, my number 1 still looks better. And finally, at the number 1 spot, I have Siren's Curse. I know, putting Siren's Curse as my number 1 might ruffle some feathers, but in my eyes, this is Cedar Point's best coaster, if not one of the world's best coasters. The airtime looks heavenly, and I honestly can't find a single negative thing to say about the ride, plus the tilt track just completes all of it. It has the perfect mix of traditional and non-traditional airtime, from small hills at this end, sideways during the start and the middle, coupled with 2 inversions that look like they could rival a blue fire roll on steel taipan even. Every element just flows perfectly, seamlessly transitioning throughout, starting from the drop to the very end of the ride. This will be my first ever tilt coaster, my second new Gen Vekoma ride, and honestly, this is probably going to be my new number 1 once I experience it. The onboard audio enhances it too, the restraints look comfortable, and I'm really hoping to get a night ride on this, tilting downwards, especially if I'm in the back or front row. Just staring straight at the pavement looks heavenly. And so that wraps it up for today. I still have 2 parks to cover, so those will be coming up in the next coming weeks. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all again very soon on Wednesday and Sunday.